Welcome to the ANEW Body Insight podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogrammed Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. And Chantal Donnelly, physical therapist and author of Settled, How to Find Calm in a Stress-Inducing World. Here at City Club Los Angeles, we follow our guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back to the ANEW Body Insight podcast. I am Dr. Supatra Tovar, and we are back for the second half of our interview with Drs. Nazanin Moali and Dr. Richard Espinoza from LA Love Lab. Welcome back, you two. These amazing doctors gave us some very invaluable insight into their matchmaking service, and it is really fabulous. If you didn't hear the first half, you got to go back and you have to listen because it's really unique and I think very healing and wonderful for people to be able to participate in something like this and improve their relationship skills. We are going to learn more, and we're going to hopefully help you find your next match. So let's talk about ways that individuals can approach and understand their own needs in a relationship and better communicate them. How do they discover that?
Well, I would say the beginning piece that I talk about it with my clients is to think about your life in three sections in relationship: your emotional need, relational need, and sexual need. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to reflect in your past relationships. What were some of the things in each of these categories that worked for you, and what were some of the things that did not work for you? And then as you're going through these descriptions and these needs, identify which ones they are deal breakers for you. So if the person doesn't have that, it's a deal breaker, and which ones are the preferences. And I think sometimes maybe visualizing yourself, I mean, 20 years I'm with this person. Do I want to have for them to have all of it? Is it essential? Or if they have the 5-6 basic needs that my need that they can meet, that's enough for me. So I think identifying that is really helpful when you are like examining your previous relationships.
Absolutely. But sex is one thing that I think a lot of people are very hesitant. There's a lot of taboos. They are, shy about that. You have your sexology podcast. It's really good. And she has a lot of spicy tips for the bedroom kind of videos also that she puts out onto social media. Awesome. How do people really learn how to get in touch with their sexuality and maybe take out some of that stigma and shame and shyness about it?
Well, Dr. Supatra, you brought up such a great point, right? Sometimes we feel we don't give ourselves permission to be able to attend to our sexual needs because we learn that those are not needs, right? Those are luxuries in the relationship. But pleasure is the right of every single person. So kind of like knowing that you deserve pleasure is the first step. There's nothing wrong about wanting to have pleasure, and kind of like looking into what is the meaning of sex for you. For some people, meaning of sex is connection. For some people, is adventure, is sensuality. Understanding what is the meaning of sex for you, it can help you to relax and be more comfortable, have a better relationship with sexuality. Because many people, like their understanding of sex is what they see in porn.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with porn, but that's not like everyday sex.
No, not
so
realistic.
It's important, to know what is it about sex that makes it important for you.
Exactly. And let's expand on porn. I mean, do you, in your practices, help people, say with porn addiction, or really discerning the difference between, porn sex and real sex? Because I think a lot of people, especially men, get very confused in that arena.
Yes. Yeah. And one thing I like to emphasize with the people I work with too is whether we like it or not. And I emphasize this to parents a lot too. Pornography is educational, whether we like it or not. So be very mindful of the education you're receiving.
Yes.
for that. Because I've worked with so many LGBTQ individuals who tell me that inadvertently porn was educational and they were just trying to mimic what they saw on their screen or their device and so forth, which that can form its own addiction. The
Right.
device it's on itself can be addicting
Yes.
for that. So a person doesn't even have to meet the diagnostic criteria for a porn addiction for that. But I've heard that so often, especially with LGBTQ men in particular, so not L, so GBTQ individuals, that I've heard a lot of queer mask-presenting people wonder, am I a sex addict? I'm thinking about sex so much. Culture tells me it's taboo. Society tells me it's taboo. So I think just dumping everything into the pot on that and exploring that, yes, that's something that definitely needs to be explored with clients for that.
Absolutely. And I think porn, certain areas of porn, lend themselves more to like violence, especially violence against women. How do you help people maybe reformulate their view of sex to be less violent?
I talk about this concept of erotic blueprint with my client. Erotic blueprint is like unique for each person. All the memories, things, emotion that makes something sexy for you is part of your erotic blueprint. Unfortunately, many people, their early memories of sex is around porn, what they watched in porn. And I'm not against porn, but it's not sex education. As Dr. E mentioned, it's what's available, right? That's how people learn about sex. But that can kind of really form and create rigidity around our sexual fantasies. So what I invite people to do is think about it as a entertainment. The same way that we're watching these rom-com movies. So, oh, this is fun, but I don't learn relationship from rom-com movie. I don't expect my partner to ride a horse for miles and miles to come capture me.
Do you expect mine? He needs to ride a horse.
I love it. It's a preference.
That was like in my profile, must ride horse.
For miles.
A white horse and come save me. Yes.
Well, we can role play Bridgerton.
As long as we get the costumes.
Right. But in reality, right, like what we think it's maintenance sex, everyday sex, that's not what we see in porn. So kind of understanding it, recognizing it is helpful, and also increasing fantasies in our erotic blueprint, right? I have so many clients, they develop this rigidity. I only climax to this part of the porn, and if the porn is not on, then I'm not able to climax, right? So I'm thinking about maybe close your eyes, think about your fantasies, or maybe co-create something with your partner in the room. So I think these are all the ways that can help us to embrace our eroticism without getting fixated on porn.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to pivot away from porn for a second. And you, in the last half, were talking about how you get someone to the curated date. They go on the quiz, they take the quiz, they attend the workshop, they get help with communication skills, then you curate the match. Let's walk through what a curated first date looks like. What do they do? Where do they go? Tell me.
So our sweet spot is about 8 to 12 minutes of the date itself. So it's, in a sense, like speed dating, but better, but augmented. And so we are also provide little prompt cards, not like Cards Against Humanity style, but
that's fun.
We have cards, and they're tiered. There's surface level, like what's a good movie you saw, to mid-range of, what are your thoughts on children, to a deeper level, a greater level of depth, such as like, hey, how much do you value sex in a relationship, and how much sex would you imagine having in a healthy relationship? So they're merely suggestions, but they're prompts that are going to be there to help guide you, especially if, nerves are taken over, you just don't know what to say, even though we gave you an hour-long masterclass beforehand, because, we're all humans, we're fallible creatures. So we curate the space, 8 to 12 minutes, but we have it set for the rest of the evening. So if they're all 8 minutes, they're all 8 minutes. If they're 12 minutes...
is it you go from person to person, or is it just one curated date at this event?
Oh, good question. So it's multiple. We want to give you
Good.
multiple options. We want to give you, we want to name the fact that, this is what dating's like. You may have conversations or intimate moments with multiple people during a period of time. So we put you with the people 8 to 12 minutes, pretty standard when we do it. We have the prompts from surface level, mid-level to deeper conversations that you can use as a mere suggestion. And then those 12 minutes are up and we match you with your next one, which you're told beforehand of the people you're going to meet with based off your preferences.
Interesting. And cool that you have prompts about sex. I can imagine that that's probably one of the last things that people talk about on a first date, but really important information. And maybe they're going to really understand that person better before sex actually happens, and then be, more compatible in that way, especially if they talk about it first. Most people don't. Just saying. All right.
It's part of the material that we do explore with them with the online quiz initially as well.
Yes, it's so important. So how can people use self-discovery and personal growth as tools to attract healthier relationships?
In reality, unless we're understanding ourselves, unless we see what was some of the blind sight that I had in past, we're going to repeat the same pattern. We're going to show up the same person. We're reliving the same story. But if we learn about, for example, our attachment style, when I feel this way, it's not about my partner ignoring me, but when I don't hear from them, I start panicking and I do all these kind of things, the texting that pushes them away. Kind of understanding those pattern for yourself can be very powerful. And I think with self-awareness comes this understanding of developing a coping strategy, right? I'm going to curate a community of people maybe that I can contact when I feel anxious, or maybe I learned ways that I can regulate that discomfort. All of these things can help me to appear more grounded. Especially most of the people we work with, they're looking for partnership, right? And in order for you to be able to get attracted to someone, it's important to show vulnerability, but also you want to show as someone that's stable and grounded. And all of those tools that you develop during the journey of self-discovery can help you to show up at as better version of yourself.
I love that. What do you think?
Which part?
Well, what self-discovery do you think is essential in terms of attracting the healthy relationship that you want?
I think first identifying what the heck a healthy relationship is for that person. I think that's often where I hear a lot of the beginning of the end in relationships, especially with the people we work with, that there's been a miscommunication that could have been cleared up from the very beginning. So I think the way that we set things up, people are, like what Dr. M was alluding to, people are serious when they come to our events. If they want just a casual encounter, yeah, there's apps for that. You can find that in the comfort of the palm of your hand if you really want to. So truly asking yourself, do I want to show up to an event where I'm going to be expected to be authentic, I may be challenged a bit, and I may be expected to try something different than I have before? So initially, do I genuinely want to find meaningful companionship? That's usually answered when a person clicks the yes to actually attend for that. So that's one of our biggest hurdles that we want people to get over. And that's kind of crosswalking that to our work as psychotherapists. That's the hardest step for our clients too, often. That it's that initial contact. Maybe it's just setting up the initial conversation, the initial consultation, or that email, but it's that initial conscious choice, that being that self-awareness of, wow, I actually want to try something meaningful, and I'm actually going to physically move my body to a place where other people are going to do the same thing. That's that first step. So that's, again, tying it back to the beginning of the end. If people genuinely knew from the get-go that I want something serious and that other party wants something serious, I think we'd have a much more agreeable divorce rate, so to speak.
Absolutely. And do you think that knowing that in the beginning, that screens out the people who are just looking for the hookup, or do you think people will try to get in there and still have, hopes for the hookup?
I mean, bless their heart, if they're going to go through all of this of going through, our online matchmaking quiz, signing up for the actual event, and actually showing up. I mean, if they're just doing that for hookups, well, gosh.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of effort.
So yes, the intention is that this is all a process to really find out who genuinely wants to try something different.
Yeah.
So yes, that is our intention, that the process drawn out, much like working with clients. There's a difference between a client calling and wanting to work with you and you have availability that same afternoon versus getting to know them, doing that initial screening, see if they genuinely want to make a change in their life. So yeah, we drag it out a little bit to make sure they're serious.
Right. How can individuals set realistic expectations while navigating modern dating and manage any resulting disappointment?
First step is for people to kind of focus on themselves, right? If you're saying that, oh, I want to be married in 6 months, right? That's something that hopefully it can happen for you, but it's not 100% within your control. But if you want to say that I'm going on dates, then the dates I'm showing up as grounded, present, with clear communication. That is something that you have control over. So I tell people to focus on the goals that they can set for themselves. They have power over it. And the other invitation I have for people is to examine your progress, I would say every 6 months. Sometimes when we are working on ourselves, we are not necessarily objectively looking at the process that we have. If we're using online dating, we're in this platform, really showing up as ourselves, 6 months later, nothing happens. Maybe you've done your part, but then we need to change the strategy. Right? You need to kind of focus on going on a matchmaking event or asking friends to set you up. So looking at just changing something as far as a context of where you meet people, because that's where I see people get stuck. The other component is disappointment. It's natural part of dating. You're going on these human to human connection spaces and you might feel rejected, and that's painful. So one important skill is practicing self-compassion, kind of really tuning into the emotion that shows up and bringing kindness to it, because it's really important for you to have your own back, because this is a tough journey.
Yes, I can imagine, and you work with people who struggle with body image. How do you help them become more self-confident on a date?
If we are focused on how do we look at our presentation, that can turn to this perfectionistic kind of like obsession in a way, because unfortunately we live in a society that we are constantly get bombarded with this message, you're not good enough. So I tell people to engage in things that makes you feel good about yourself.
Yes.
I give these tips at times to people that maybe dance before going on a date, or if biking or yoga is something that you like, do that, so you're bringing that positive energy to the date, and the voices will show up. This idea, oh, my partner's not looking at me, aren't they attracted to me? All of that, and kind of like practice on bringing back yourself in the moment, practicing mindfulness, being present, kind of anchoring yourself in the moment is something that I recommend to people to do. And it's easier said than done, but with enough practice, it's something that people can cultivate.
Absolutely. And I think people do get hung up. Like, I have some clients that are like, I can't or won't date unless I lose weight or unless I do this. And I really try to emphasize that we are all works in progress. No one is at their perfection level, and there is somebody for everyone. How do you get them over that? If they are so concerned about the external, what are some tips that you would impart on them?
I think, following my theme of dialectical behavior therapy and DBT, helping a person develop more distress tolerance.
Yes.
Tolerating negative emotions, including rejection.
Yes.
And also rejection sensitivity is also part of the work with DBT. Just a sidebar. Again, I emphasize DBT because it was designed specifically for a trauma response. Now, I am not saying all people that I work with or all LGBTQ plus individuals have borderline personality. Sometimes they do, and that's okay. But a lot of people have suffered trauma in various forms.
Absolutely.
So that's why distress tolerance and being able to tolerate negative emotions and rejection is so important. Oddly enough, now I'm not saying if you come to our events, you're going to get rejected, but we're not masters of the universe.
Right.
We may set people up that sounded on paper or on our online quiz like a match, and turns out in reality, maybe they weren't. That's actually a beautiful opportunity to sit with, a date that just didn't work out. Not calling it a bad date, but you had high hopes. Both parties probably had good intentions, and it just didn't work out. Can you sit with this for 8 to 12 minutes and know that you're still a good human, the other party is still a good human, and it just wasn't a good fit? Those are those little moments that inoculate us to the bigger rejections in life, because they're going to happen to all of us.
Yeah, it's true. Well, we're going to open up for some questions from our audience, but before we do that, tell people how they can work with you individually as therapists, and how do they come to you for LA Love Lab?
They can find my information at oasis2care.com. My practice is in LA, and I do online and in-person therapy. And for our event, if people are interested, they can go to lalovelab.com. They can download our gift for free, so they can show up as best version of themselves in the first experiences, first encounters, and dates. And they can find out the information about our upcoming event in February there.
Okay, upcoming event in February. And for you?
And we want to emphasize all orientations, all genders are welcome. This is an inclusive space. We're only going to match you with the people you say you want to be matched with. It's a beautiful opportunity to learn to just be around things that you just aren't usually surrounded by in life. If people want to follow me on my professional journey, they can go to my website as well, drrichardespinoza.com, Dr, not the full word doctor, so drrichardespinoza.com, and follow my journey.
Wonderful. So we would love to open it up for some questions from the audience. Yes, come on down to the microphone.
Hello, is this on?
It is.
Hi, my name is Hector. I think I have a question, actually two, but I just want to make a comment. It's so cool that you both are from different backgrounds, and the dynamic was so cool, so I can see how the universe said it was destined for LA Love Lab to be. My name is Hector. I happen to be single for 5 years. So my one question is, I always think I'm not ready to date. Is there a time frame that, I don't know, the research or psychologists say that, I should wait X amount of years after my breakup? It's been 5 years for me, so would you say I'm ready yet? I'm not ready? I don't know. And then number two, my next question is, when's the next event? If you say I'm ready, then I'll go.
Yay!
Excellent. So I'll start off with that one. So yeah, I think we've all heard no one knows where it came from, but the algorithm that half the time you spent in the relationship, so let's say you spent a year in a relationship, it should take you 6 months to get over it. I have yet to find any research that backs that up. So you're fine. You're exonerated. If you feel ready to date, go get them. All I know from the research is that maybe within 3 months, the initial pain of a dissolved relationship does start to subside naturally, and it can be quickened if a person does enter a relationship in that 3-month window. But, employ that with caution, talk about that with a trusted loved one or your therapist. But again, if you feel good to date, there's no magical algorithm you have to follow. If you feel good, we welcome you at our next event.
All right.
Yes.
Yay.
February.
Oh, right on. I'll be there then.
Day after Valentine's Day.
Oh, do you guys have an
Hangover.
app too?
Oh,
or
that's
is it your website?
It's a website.
Oh, okay. What was it again?
LA Love Lab.
LALoveLab.com.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
.com.
Thank you.
Hector.
Great.
And when you sign up, you'll be given your Love Hub account, and that'll provide you direct contact information to Dr. M and myself.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
We're hoping for love for you, Hector.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, another question? Yes, you. No questions. I tried. All right. Well, we are out of time then for this half of this podcast. You two are amazing. I'm so excited about this program. I think it's going to be transformative for people. I really think that we've needed psychologists involved in matchmaking. We have not had that. I don't know of any. Do you know of any other program that's like that?
No, that's why we're here.
Oh, you guys are unique and amazing, and we're so lucky. So thank you all for joining us for the ANEW Body Insight podcast. We hope you join us for the next exciting episode, and we really hope that you join LA Love Lab if you are looking for love. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Body Insight podcast. Please remember, the content shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Body Insight podcast tab. Follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.